Journal Line.
Hello everyone, my name is Robert Harron and welcome to the Rangers Journal. This will be a mini-series on a number of the B team players that we think may have some progression prospects into the first team under Philip Clement. Today I am delighted to welcome with me my guest, Willie. How are you today, mate?
I'm all good, thanks, mate. Yeah, enjoying a peaceful Thursday afternoon before the carnage of the first team tonight. So yeah.
Yeah. So we're currently recording this the day of Rangers versus FC SB in Europa League. So hopefully hopefully it's a positive night ahead. But yeah, we're here to talk about the youth prospects. Today's star pupil, shall we say, is Findlay Curtis. We want to look into his background, how he's progressed, what his kind of latest stats are when he plays, and just general opinion on what we think his chances are of moving forward into the first team. Before we get into that in any great detail, I just want to say we're in association with Manon Inverclyde and also very proudly sponsored by Premier VPN. So please check them out for a safe, reliable VPN service. Please look onto the website and get signed up. So yeah, but over with the sponsorship stuff, William, we'll dive right into Findlay Curtis. So Findlay, from what I've kind of researched, he's an 18-year-old Scot, plays midfield for the Rangers B team. He's come through the youth ranks since he was quite young, and he's recently just had a couple of goals within the latest Challenge Cup game against Tenhousemuir. It's taken us through to the semi-final. So we're actually the only B team through to the semi-final in the Challenge Cup, which again is another positive highlight for the B team. But yeah, we'll start off kind of from his background, really. So I know you cover a lot of the B team games. What's your thoughts on Findlay in terms of current status in the team?
Yeah, look, he's probably one of those guys that's going to play most games for the B team. He offers a wee bit of everything. I mean, that's the funny thing with Findlay. He's probably not the biggest, the strongest, the quickest, the most technical player in the world, but he just has a wee bit of everything that makes him a really good player. He's not got one of those like standout attributes like sort of Zach Lovelace has or an Archie Stevens has or whatever. But he just has a little bit of everything that just makes him that type of player that can get into the box, can score goals. His work rate's immense. He really does do a lot of work for the team. He's got a great attitude. He's just one of those kids that you like to see doing well because you know that he's had to do the hard yards to get to where he is. I don't know how well sort of known it is about Findlay, but when Findlay was 15, 16, obviously at that point, the club make a decision if you're going to get a professional contract or not. At that stage with Findlay, he wasn't actually offered a professional contract because the club weren't too sure if he was going to be good enough, if I'm totally honest. And so he was offered an amateur contract, which basically means you're not really getting paid, and I think you're just getting like your travel expenses type thing. So yeah, for the first couple of months when he was playing for the Rangers under 18s, he wasn't actually a signed professional player because the club weren't sure. But it became quite apparent quite quickly that he was more than good enough, and his ability to score goals is something that is quite incredible, really, given he's not a number 9. He's one of those kids. He can play in central midfield, he could play as a number 10, he can play in either wing. That kind of versatility that he has been a real bonus for the 18s and the B team, because it's allowed other players to be in the team. So it just adds more goals from where he plays on the pitch. I think the exciting thing with somebody like Findlay is that, yeah, again, he's quite a down-to-earth lad. He doesn't seem to get too up or down. He's quite comfortable in terms of the type of player he is. He's obviously trained with the first team. He was away with the first team in the summer where he obviously came off the bench. So, yeah, for a kid that 2 years ago was told he might not be getting a professional contract at Rangers, it's quite incredible to think where he is now, to be fair. It shows you how strong a character that he is.
Sure, and it definitely sounds like he's the type of player that we should be looking to bring through into the first team squad. Willie, again, I had seen that he's been training quite regularly with the first team squad, which again I know that the manager had been touching on last year. Again, more so with Ross McCausland, who we know has obviously made that progression from the B team into the first team playing squad, and he is at least a regular squad player. And that's definitely something you want to hear in terms of having had some adversity when
Yeah.
he is at that kind of early age of 15, 16. Not sure. Again, maybe just as a tangent, we've seen that with quite a lot of young Scottish players that they're maybe deemed too small or too slight to potentially make the step up, and they're then kind of moved on, or they've got to go elsewhere to further their development into the Scottish game or in the game in general. So it is good to hear that he's kind of made the breakthrough even at youth level, having, as you said, had concerns over him, and he certainly seems to be one that's becoming more and more known, probably amongst his supporters, and hopefully this video helps bring his information to the larger majority of Rangers fans who maybe don't have a massive interest in the B team, but again it's just an insight into who we should be looking at to bring through. So yeah, I mean, as you said, he plays centre midfield, but again, having been to most of the games or a lot of the games that he's featured in, is he a box to box midfielder? Is he, again, we talk about the 6 or the 8 or the 10. Is he a kind of mix, or do you think he could be in a defined position, maybe as a one that goes beyond the striker type thing, in terms of maybe not a number 10, but that kind of in between 8 and a 10?
Yeah, look, he's quite versatile, as I said. I mean, he's played a lot of games on the wing as well, so it's not like he's just played in that central midfield position. Sure. I think where Findlay has really shone is the fact that he's been able to come into the team in numerous positions, but he's continued to add something in every game, whether it's been a goal or an assist. He has been used more in the wings for the B team. He did play a bit more centralised for the 18s, but that was because at times we had a lot of good width in the team, and it allowed Findlay to be more central on the pitch. This season he's played more off the wing, but I think that's benefited him because he's probably getting into the box more this season because of that. So I think it's very much dependent on the manager or the head coach, sort of depending on what you want to call them now at that academy level. I think they like to call them the head coach now. I mean, Findlay's always had an ability. I mean, I think I'd marked down his stats that between the 18s and the B team in the 2022-23 season, I think he was about 20 goals. In the 2023-24 season, between the 18s and the B team, because he was kind of floating between the two, I think he was nearly 25 goals. And this season, for the B team alone, because he's now obviously no longer in the 18s, he's scored 9 goals. He's a top goal scorer in the B team. And now, when you consider he's not the main striker, for him to continue to score that number of goals is really impressive. I mean, I think I posted it on Twitter this morning. I think that was over 50 goals in just over 2 seasons for a guy that's not a number 9, because the academies get Chris Adey. They've got Josh Gentles that can play in those positions. They've obviously signed Alfie Hutchison. He came in from Hearts. They've had Archie Stevens, they've had Zach Lovelace. But the fact that in the main, Findlay's been right up there with those numbers. I mean, that's not even his assists. I could probably kind of traipse through all the games and try and pick out the assists as well. That's just goals.
Yeah.
Which for me, for a player that's mainly played either in midfield or the wing, is very, very impressive. And I think, as I said earlier, they're all different types of goals. And that's what really stands out to me. But we just touched on a little bit what we said earlier. As I said, this was a kid that was on an amateur. Eventually, into that 2022-23 season, Rangers did offer him a 2-year deal. So that was him signed up until the summer of 2024, which was obviously just there. And then Rangers have obviously since then offered them a 1-year deal that takes them to the end of this season.
Sure.
And I think some of the thought processes with this now is like sort of where is the B team going? So I think maybe giving Findlay like a 3-year deal maybe wouldn't make a lot of sense, because it just feels like at the moment we don't really know what the B team's going to be doing from year to year. So I think for Findlay it's probably a good thing. Maybe it keeps them hungry, because if you're just signing 1-year contracts, it means that you're continually forced to show that you're good enough to be there. And I think so far this season, Findlay has definitely shown that he's more than capable of being an important player in that B team.
Sure. I mean, again, having done probably not as much research as yourself, Willie, but even from the Challenge Cup, stats that have come up, it looks as if he's got 3 goals and 2 assists in 4 appearances. And again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but the fact that he's a top scorer in the B team, but he's not the main striker. He's seen maybe more as a midfielder, as you say, maybe playing on, playing from the wing and coming in is giving him another insight into maybe how to better play in central midfield. Maybe it's giving him that opportunity just to see the game from a different perspective, in a different position. But it does, from those stats, sound very much like an actual goal scoring midfielder, a homegrown goal scoring midfielder that seems to be, hopefully on, obviously doing very well for the B team, and hopefully on the verges of the first team squad, which again bodes well for us in terms of trying to implement the player trading model, which I know we've heard so much about in other pods, and we've had countless discussions on it within the journal WhatsApp chat as well. But for me, the first thing that kind of sprung to mind was, apologies, I'm suffering from the cold here, but he sounds like the kind of, and again maybe big boots to fill. Sounds in the mould of a kind of Scott Arfield type character, where he plays as a midfielder, but he's maybe one that can be that one that goes beyond the strikers when we're in an attacking phase of play. Again, he's only 18. He's definitely got time in his side, hopefully to develop further. And if he gets first team opportunities, then that would obviously help. I think the challenge that we're probably looking at, Willie, is who's in front of him in terms of who does he need to try and get past in order to make that breakthrough into the first team squad, or into the first team, as at least in and around starting positions, if not on the bench on a regular basis, because we've not really seen much of him, if anything at all, within this season's first team squad anyway. So who do you think sees kind of main competition?
Well, I guess it depends where the manager thinks he's going to play. I mean, I think that's the one at the moment with Findlay. As I say, he's more than capable of playing in that midfield role. He's more than capable of playing wide. So I guess it is really dependent on, where the first team manager views him. For me, I think he is the sort of player in that number 8 who can get forward and be creative and score goals. He is very much in that type of mould of a Scott Arfield. He has this ability to find space in the penalty box. He makes these great late runs into the box. He's very smart in terms of his overall play. If he's playing wide, he's one of those guys that will always make that run into the back post because he plays there. If he's playing as a 10, he can, he can actually get beyond the 9 when he plays as a 10, if somebody has to drop in. So yeah, it's probably just dependent on the first team manager and where he views his future. I mean, it's so difficult at academy level because you basically go from the under 18s into nothing now. Like, there isn't really a structure in place, you could say. Obviously, in the past, you've had Rangers, Hearts and Celtic that have played in the Lowland League. Rangers have obviously tried to play these games programmes, or best versus best games. Have they been good enough? Are they really competitive enough? There's so many unanswered questions really on that front. So I think for me, for somebody like Findlay, the only way that he's going to develop is by going out and loan and playing at a good level and being tested at that point, or moving into the first team squad and being given an opportunity by the manager. And that's really the only way we're going to find that out, because I'm not trying to be disrespectful towards the opposition we're playing in the B team, but he probably needs to do better against stronger teams if he's going to be viewed in that kind of pathway into the first team, and that's not Findlay's fault. That's just where Rangers are and what Rangers have decided to do now for the last year and a bit with these games programmes. So, like, the ideal scenario would be that Rangers win the league, they then play in like the UEFA Youth League, and you're playing against really good opposition at that level. You're then maybe playing in like League 2 or League 1 in Scotland, where you're then being tested against that level of opposition. And if it's then viewed that you're better than that, maybe you go out and loan to the Championship or to another team in the Premier League. And then, obviously, for some players are just more than talented enough that they can move from the under-18s into the first team. We've seen that as well from other players. So there's so many different pathways, but I do feel as though the structure needs to be improved right across Scottish football, because from under-18s up to first team, there's just not enough there to help progress the most talented young players in the country, in my honest opinion.
Sure, I wouldn't disagree, Willie. I do think that the Lowland League pilot has worked to a certain degree. Obviously, Rangers have decided to take our B team out of that, but the Hearts and Celtic teams are still in there and still competing relatively well. From what I've seen, they're by far not the best teams in that league for obvious reasons, because they're obviously young boys playing men's football, but then it gives them that grounding that would probably help them make progressions into the first team. Maybe more so for Hearts, as a maybe more so than Celtic or Rangers, because again the money that the first team have got is obviously a massive factor in why youth players aren't maybe given as much of a chance as other clubs. The likes of Hearts, as I said. But I mean, even for myself at the moment, looking at it, the challenge, as you said, is the fact that we don't have a regular league for the B team. There's no, they've obviously done away with under 21s. The best of the best programs are very few and far between. There's no, and again, this has obviously been discussed at length. As I said before, within other pods, but as a B team, as you said, that progression to the first team is severely hampered by the fact of a lack of regular football. Yes, they're challenging and obviously doing very well in the Challenge Cup against men's teams. As we said, the latest result against Stenhousemuir shows that, considering we've not got regular football for the B team, either within Scotland or the UK or even abroad, as you said, with the kind of European best of best games. I think that's something that needs to be looked at. We need to have some form of programme that allows these players to play regular football for the Rangers B team, or we have to have something else set up that allows them the game time that they need. I think touching on that, do you see again with the likelihood that Findlay's contract's coming to an end in the summer? Do you think it'll be renewed even on a yearly basis, so we maybe get another year and then potentially go out on loan? Do you think that's probably the next logical step for him in his development?
It's so difficult to know, because I would imagine when you get to this stage, when you're coming up from 19, 20, 21-year-old, depending on where you are at this stage, if you're not playing men's football, you're probably then questioning where you're going to be in a year's time. I would say for Findlay, if he's not going to be training with the first team and being part of that squad, then the only good reason to sign a new contract would be to go out and loan. Because out with that, I don't really know if there's another benefit of staying for another year and playing for the B team, unless they're in some type of structure. I don't have an issue with the best versus best games to a point, but they are non-competitive in that they're not, they're not winning 3 points. And for the criticism that the Lowland League took, at least you knew you were playing like 30 competitive games that season.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that every game was great to watch, because it wasn't, because some of the opposition wasn't strong enough. But certainly when we played other teams, like your Bonnie Rose, like your East Kilbrides. I mean, I could probably pick another kind of 5, 6, 7 teams out type thing, but those were really, really good games to watch, and they were a real tough test for the lads to come through. And it sort of toughens you up a little bit because you go from playing like academy games against like mainly schoolboys in the main to all of a sudden you're rocking up to a stadium full of people where there's guys in their mid-20s and their 30s. You're strolling out there as a 17-year-old, some even 16-year-olds were playing then. And it was a bit like, right, this is a bit different from rolling up to an under-18s game at the training ground in front of 50 people. So some parts of your development is mental as much as anything else. So for these young players to go away from home and like to win games, even when the B team played Celtic at Parkhead and they went and won 1-0, I think it was Cole McKinnon that scored. That was an unbelievable thing for the boys to go and experience. There was probably, I don't know what it was that night, maybe 5, 6, 7,000 people, maybe slightly more. Were at that game at Parkhead, and obviously there wasn't supposed to be any Rangers fans there that night. There was, but they weren't supposed to be there. So in the main, they were up against, quite a strong home Celtic support that didn't have any love for any of the boys on the pitch. So for them to go there and win that game, I think showed a lot of character and showed what that group were about. And the fact, I think that was a team that finished second in the Lowland League that year. And if I'm totally honest, if that whole team had played that whole year, they would have probably won the Lowland League.
Right. Okay.
Which I think would have been great for the players as well to show they were the best team in that league. But obviously since then, the decision was made for them to be, removed from the Lowland League, something I didn't agree with at the time, if I'm totally honest, because I felt like even if we were going to play like a younger age group, it would have made as much sense just to keep that position, even if they weren't going to be as competitive as what we had been before. But if you're giving a 15, 16, 17-year-old an opportunity to play against men, I think it can only help them improve. And I think for me that was why I thought the longevity of the Lowland League would have benefited some of the younger players. But obviously these decisions are made behind closed doors and you'll never find out the entire truth behind it. I mean, I know at the time there were some rumours that it was Michael Beale's decision. And obviously not too long after that, Michael Beale was sacked. So should he have been allowed to make that decision? I don't think he should have been. I think that should be an academy decision or, like a club decision. It shouldn't be down to the manager to make that decision, especially given we had nowhere else to go at that point. And then for the last year and a bit, we've obviously continued to play these games, which, this will cause a debate when this recording goes out. It will cause a debate. And, what's better, the Lowland League or the Games programme? If you do watch this pod, leave some comments down below to let us know what you think, because it's very much something that's caused, what would you say, maybe some arguments at times because of what's happened and how things have happened, and has it helped young players develop coming out of the Lowland League? These are the questions that I think will remain unanswered until the club actually tell us why they did come out of it, which I don't know if they'll ever do that.
Yeah, I think that's what my kind of gripe with it was, Willie, was that, again, if we've not got anything there for the players to go into, it would have given us at least something in terms of regular game time for them and given them a benefit of playing, as we've said, many times, proper men's football in amongst it, as you said, going to stadiums with fans that are there to support their team and not them, and it's not like for like in terms of age, similar ages. It's guys that are potentially journeymen and guys that have come kind of fallen down the leagues and potentially having played in the SPFL. So yeah, I can definitely see the benefit of it, considering we did so well in that kind of first period that we were in the Lowland League, coming second. And I think that's probably helped the likes of Cole McKinnon, Ross McCausland to make that breakthrough into the first team squad and be regular squad players at least. I think the difficulty, as you say, is because we don't have a regular games programme, that the players that are currently in the B team are not seeing that same benefit of regular game time, and then maybe regular visibility from the senior management team. The senior management team will only be catching potentially like Challenge Cup games and whatever kind of best v best program that they're doing, which is again intermittent at best. There's no game every week that the manager can be coming back and saying, I want a weekly report on the likes of Findlay Curtis, who have been talking about, to see what he's like week on week, if he's making continual improvement, or if he is, as most players would likely be at that age of 17, 18, where they will have a dip in consistency. Just to see how they're handling regular game time, which is something we don't have at the moment. It's definitely something that we should be looking into or back into for the future. But as you said, that those decisions are made, by the senior team at the club, whether it's within the academy or at board level. But I think, we could spend all day kind of taking the general subject of youth football, which I know we've done in past pods, really, that it's definitely something that needs to be looked at, especially in Scotland. You see a lot of the youth players down south getting a lot of money for not a lot of game time, and we definitely need something, regular game time for our youth players, to give them the benefit of playing football first and foremost, but then give hopefully increasing their chances of being brought into the first team squads wherever they play, whether it is Rangers or anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, look, mate, like it's one of those things, like sort of it's probably a podcast on its own, to be honest, just talking about where Scottish football is in general in terms of that level. But I mean, just to finish off in Finlay as much as anything else, look, Finlay's came a hell of a long way in 2 years. As I say, he's a great kid. He's got a great work ethic. He's got a great attitude. He's got a really good family around about him that are always there supporting him. I mean, I see his brother and his dad at most games, if not all games. They don't seem to miss Finlay playing, which is amazing. They travel up and down the country to see him. I say Finlay as a person is a really nice kid. He would never walk by you without saying hello. He's just one of those guys that, he comes across really well whenever you speak to him. And also, you're happy to see him do well, as I am for any of the young players at the academy. We just want to see them given an opportunity in the first team, and obviously we'll touch on some other players in some future episodes. But in terms of Finlay, look, great lad. Hopefully he does get that opportunity in the first team, and we can sit back and enjoy him scoring some goals for Rangers in the future.
Yeah, agreed, Willie. Agreed. I think it's definitely someone who looks exciting for the future, and hopefully is given that opportunity to come through and impress in the first team. The same as the likes of Cole McKinnon, and obviously the likes of Zach Lovelace, who's trying to make that breakthrough, as well as Ross McCausland, who we kind of keep going back to as the excuse me, as the kind of most recent B team addition to the first team squad. But yeah, just for the guy, the folks watching, please leave comments what you thought of the video. If there's anyone that you want us to cover in any great depth from the B team, please leave a comment, and we'll take that into consideration for the future episodes. But with that being said, we'll wrap things up. Willie, thanks again for your time today. Really grateful that you could join and give us your insight into Findlay, and looking forward to the next few episodes with a couple of the players that we've got lined up to look at.
Yeah, no problem at all, mate. Always happy to talk about the academy and some of the young players coming through. So yeah, make sure you keep watching the episodes when they're coming out. There's at least another 3 to come. It might end up turning into more if people leave more comments. So just let us know who you're interested in talking about. Even if it's an under 18 player, we can touch on that as well. And yeah, I enjoy talking about anything to do with Rangers. So thanks very much for having me, mate.
Yeah, no worries, Willie. Again, appreciate your insight. With that being said, we'll wrap things up. Again, I want to say we're in association with Man on Inverclyde, and we're proudly sponsored by Premier VPN. Please have a wee look on their website, premiervpn.net, for your safe and private VPN needs. All it's left to say is that I've been Robert Harron. Thank you again for watching this mini-series, starting with Findlay Curtis from the B team, and every night is a Rangers Journal night. Thanks, everyone.